Welcome to this new moment that you're cultivating for yourself. This moment of dropping into inquiry, to exploring what's already present in order to create the ability to become a stronger, conscious observer of all that's arising in your experience, so that you're no longer the victim of the story that arises, but the director, producer, and writer of that story as it continues to flow throughout your life. In order to do that, it's essential that we develop a body-mind awareness. In other words, beginning to understand that our mind is not the only thing that's talking, that the body itself has a very expansive language that when we tap into, we're able to touch into this intuitive place, this internal guidance system, this spirit, however you want to name it. But this part of ourselves that is bigger than this body, that is bigger than the conditioned beliefs in this brain, and that is beyond the experiences that are happening in this human container. So beginning to drop into that space of allowing meditation to being a practice that you weave throughout your day, so you can be more highly aware of those things that are arising as thoughts, as emotions, as physical sensations that are trying to tell you whether your body, mind, and spirit are at ease and in alignment, or if there's some disconnection here. And when you have that ability to discern between who's driving your experience, ego or authentic self, and you're able to create that space to be able to choose which one to feed, you become a more empowered being, one who's able to cultivate responses in this life no matter what's arising. In other words, you can dance in the middle of a storm, you can find ease, even when there's contradiction to that which you like and want. You can find some semblance of inner balance, even as the environment around you feels chaotic. And what you come to understand as you go deeper and deeper into this spaciousness is that there is a home within you that never changes, even as we observe the constantly changing circumstances of our inner and outer worlds. So let's begin with the breath assessment. Allowing yourself, if you're not already, to be in a comfortable position, whatever that means for you. I'm sitting here, I'm allowing my hips to be placed a little closer to the back of this chair, visualizing a string on top of my head that's gently pulling that spine upward and long towards the sky on the inhalation. On the exhalation, I keep that spine comfortably tall as I release the shoulders, the arms, the upper torso. Feel into that groundedness or that connection between the lower half of the body and the chair itself. If it feels better to lie down, feel free to lie down during this breath assessment. I will say that sitting up, at least initially, to get used to your breath capacity and to observe might be helpful. But we always want to honor our body in every moment. So in this moment, taking a couple of breaths here just to notice, where else might I adjust this body so it's feeling even slightly more comfortable? And as you drop into this practice, know that this is the first time you're doing this particular meditation practice, even if you've done many before. Allow it to be okay if thoughts are moving through the mind, emotions are arising, or physical sensations are capturing your attention. What we're practicing is becoming the observer. So we're here and those objects of our attention are here. we become like a mountain, completely grounded, steady, strong, and unwavering, as we're witnessing clouds of thoughts, emotions, physical sensations moving through our field of experience. There's a spaciousness here between us as observer and that which is passing through. Clouds, ungraspable. These thoughts, ungraspable. You will notice that you'll find that you grasp attention onto those thoughts or what's passing through. You also have the ability to notice that attention has strayed from this present moment into the past or future thinking, and to gently, without judgment, guiding that attention back. You might notice that judgment arises anyway. Drop back another level to be the observer of that judgment. Judgment of myself is arising. So let's begin this breath assessment, knowing that there's in no way that you need to change or alter the breath here. All you're doing is observing the breath. Let the sounds, the thoughts, the emotions, the physical sensations that are moving through your experience be the background of your experience as you keep guiding attention back to the breath itself. So in this moment, you're just observing with eyes opened, and if so, keeping your eyes in a fixed space to help with attention, or eyes gently closed, just feeling the breath moving as it is. Nothing to change here. The mind starts to get caught up in thinking, just notice that, bring attention back to feeling the sensation of the breath. And in this moment, just noticing air touching the edges of the nostrils before it moves into the body and becomes breath. Your attention might want to go into the body. See if you can hold your attention right at the nostrils, just feeling sensations right there. The mind will continually guide you away from the nostrils. Just gently bring attention back. There's no expectation in meditation for the mind to be quiet. In fact, for me, the intention of meditation is to be able to be that spacious, quiet observer of what's arising, so we know how we want to most authentically respond in service of our own wellness. So inviting attention now to feel the sensation of air touching the nostrils and then turning into breath as that breath sweeps the inner walls of the nose through the inhale and exhale. Even if attention wants to go into the throat, just keeping it right there, feeling the sensations of breath moving along the walls of the inner nose. And now inviting in attention to feel the sensation of that breath sweeping the inner walls of the nose and throat now on the inhale and exhale. Without changing the breath, just noticing the breath moving through the nose, throat, and now lungs on the inhale and exhale. If it feels comfortable, you may even want to gently place one hand on the abdomen and one hand on the chest, so you can feel the sensation of breath moving with no expectation of where it will be moving through the body. Just notice on the inhale and exhale in the lungs first. Does this breath feel deep or shallow? Shallow, the breath is just dipping into the top of the lungs and back. Deep, you feel the expansion of the lungs. You feel that breath dropping all the way to the base of the lungs and back. Does this breath feel choppy or smooth? Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. You're exploring the body and creating a dialogue here. Can you feel the sensation of the breath in the lungs as it moves forward? In other words, when the inhale comes into the body, do you feel the movement of the lungs towards the front of the ribs, towards the front of the torso? Letting it be okay if the answer is no here. Can you notice the sensation with each inhalation of the lungs moving to the back of the ribs, to the back of the torso? Notice if the body does want to invite in a soft but deeper breath. If so, you can allow it, but forcing nothing here. Honoring this body exactly where it is in this moment. Can you feel the sensation of the breath with the inhalation expanding the lungs to the sides of the ribs, to the sides of the torso? Imagining the sternum, that point in the center of the chest. Imagine that in the center of the torso, the space of light. And with each inhalation, visualize that light expanding as if the entire upper body is a ball, a beach ball. And with each inhalation, that light is expanding in all directions to the edges of the inside of that beach ball. So each inhale, expanding 360 degrees. Each exhale releasing to the center of that ball. Let it be okay if you're not a visualizer to just feel the body. Can you feel the expansion to the sides, to the front, and to the back, to the top of the lungs, to the bottom simultaneously with each inhale? Can you feel with each exhale that sphere, that ball, releasing to center? Let it be okay if the answer is no. This is a practice. The more you practice without forcing, the more the capacity for the lungs to breathe will expand. The muscles will soften. Staying here for a few more breaths, just noticing. Nothing to force here. And then dropping that upper hand, if it's there, just placing that on the belly, seeing if you can just slightly have the middle fingertips touching, just slightly. And then allow the inhale and the exhale to be natural. With each inhalation, imagine that spine growing tall towards the sky. With each exhalation, you can release the muscles of the shoulders, of the elbows. Let it be okay if tension is still present. This is just an invitation for release. And then focusing all of your attention just on that belly. And with each inhalation and exhalation, start to notice if there's some movement in the hands between the fingers. you might notice a little bit of space being created between the middle fingers with each inhalation, and with each exhale you might notice those middle fingers slightly moving towards one another. If you're not noticing any movement in the hands, let that be okay. This is great information, basically telling you that you're not allowing for a deep diaphragmatic breath. The more that you visualize deep breathing, meaning breathing that's expanding in all directions from that heart space, the more that the muscles of the body will respond. So you can take time to do this throughout the day, just dropping in and noticing, taking a moment to assess the breath without forcing the breath, without even deepening the breath, just getting used to moving with the breath. In other words, your attention is journeying with the breath. Just that act alone begins to expand the dialogue between your consciousness and the breath. This breath that is life, this breath that sustains and nourishes, this breath that is your greatest tool for ease, for health. So if you're here in the abdominal region and you're noticing that there's no real movement, you might just invite a very soft breath, a gentle deepening of the breath, inhaling, feeling and visualizing that line of breath moving through the nose, through the throat, through the lungs. You might actually do a practice here if it feels okay for you. And remember, at any time, if the practices don't feel like they're resonating with you, stop, pull back, notice. Start to visualize that the lungs are in 3 levels here. A bottom level, a mid-level, and an upper level. The bottom level is that first third, bottom third of the lungs. That middle level is where the heart space is. That upper level is right below the clavicles. And with each inhalation, as you're inviting the breath in, feel the sensation of breath sweeping the inner walls. And imagine as if with each inhalation, you're filling only that bottom third of the lungs, from side to side, top to bottom of the bottom third. And then exhale. Feeling that inhalation, inviting that breath in to fill up that entire bottom third of the lungs. Feeling that exhalation leaving lungs, throat, nose. And we'll do that a few times, seeing if you can keep the breath moving through the nose on the inhale and exhale. And now inviting that breath to begin filling again from the nose, throat into the bottom third of the lungs, and then filling from that bottom third to the top of the second third, right in that heart space with that inhale. And let it be okay if the lung capacity is not letting you fill it completely. As your practice expands, you'll be able to deepen that breath, but maybe in the beginning, you're just filling, 1/3 or 2/3. Visualization is an important key. If you can visualize, if you're a visualizer, visualizing that breath expanding into that bottom first and second third, even if you're not feeling it. And then finally inviting that breath in, so it's moving through nose, throat, lungs, to the bottom of the lungs. And as you're inhaling, it's filling the lungs all the way to the top third, right below the clavicle. Observing if that's not your experience and letting that be okay. This becomes the baseline for you, where you're starting today. Let's take a few breaths here together, allowing the exhalation to be slightly longer than the inhale. It starts to engage our relaxation response. So inhaling, feeling that breath sweeping the inner walls of the body. Notice how the body expands on the exhale, releasing that breath, feeling the breath leaving the body, and even at the end of the breath, gently squeezing the belly for a second or two to release the end of that breath, and right back into that inhalation. Inhaling, we're bringing in that fresh breath, that oxygen, moving new oxygen, new blood through the body. Exhaling as we squeeze out all of these organs in the body. We're releasing carbon dioxide, toxin, and that which no longer serves us. We don't need to identify emotionally that which we're releasing. Our inner wisdom knows exactly what to do when we create a quiet space for it to do its job. So if hands are on the belly, we can release those hands to the thighs, palms facing up if you want to receive energy in this moment. Palms facing down if you'd like to conserve energy you've just created. And just observing the breath for a few more moments here. And although this practice has been longer to introduce you to a breath assessment, know that the breath assessment itself can be done within 60 seconds. Just dropping in, feeling the sensation of that sweeping of the breath through the nose, the throat, the lungs, feeling into where the abdomen is moving in and out with each breath. Just watching and witnessing the breath without forcing the breath to do anything. If the body is asking for a deeper breath, inviting that in gently, slowly, and smoothly. And always, if it's the body itself is allowing for a longer exhalation to come out, allowing that to come out in its own gentle way. Again, nothing to force here. What we're doing here is we're connecting with the rhythms of our own body, mind being slightly different than yours. Respecting and honoring our body in each new moment. And I would invite you in this living meditation practice throughout the day when you're noticing that you're feeling a state of dis-ease, whether that be mental rumination, emotional agitation, or physical discomfort, to drop into the body and just feel the body breathing itself. And as you feel that body breathing itself, you can scan the body and consciously release where you're noticing tension is being held. And resistance might still remain, and allowing that to be okay. Working with the body where it's at. As time moves on, my intention is to create other videos that provide different practices for you to learn how to cultivate, to be the conscious creator of your own being, to learn how to transform conditioned reactions into conscious responses. Thank you for taking time for yourself today. Namaste. The inner light in me honors and sees the inner light in you. Be well.